My name is Alexandra Parker and I am the founder of We Need Our Village. I have been passionately advocating for all expecting and new parents whose mental health has been affected by the pandemic. I'm originally from the UK, a beautiful seaside town called Bournemouth, and I've lived in Sydney for 9 years. I have 2 young children, Lily and Jack. I gave birth to my second child, Jack, in May 2020 as COVID started to infiltrate the world. Like many pandemic mothers, my experience has been tinged with despair, isolation and heartbreak. A strict Australian border closure prevented my mum from being able to travel from the UK to support me. Having a baby during the pandemic has been the hardest thing I have ever done. The sense of despair I have felt has been so acute at times it's hard to process. After a traumatic birth and being extremely sleep deprived, I could barely function as a human. How could I be a mother when it felt like I was living in a vacuum? My body was overtaken with grief and I went to a very dark place. My breaking point was when my 4-year-old daughter had to pick me up off the floor. I knew I had to get help and I was diagnosed with postnatal depression and anxiety. If my mother was allowed to travel from the UK to Australia to support my children and I through this time, my perinatal mental health would not have declined as much as it did. Women who have given birth during the crisis have been some of the most affected in our communities. The border closures have denied expecting and new parents of their vital support system, leaving them isolated and vulnerable. Isolation can have a significant effect on exacerbating perinatal mental ill health and places a larger number of people at a heightened risk of postnatal depression. I want to make sure no one else has to go through what I went through. I want to do everything I can to help educate people on how important it is to look after the mental health of expecting and new parents. Research has shown the presence of a strong support system can help mitigate the risk and trauma perinatal mental illness may cause. Perinatal mental health services are being inundated with people needing support. There are now long wait lists to get help. Perinatal mental illness has been identified as a major public health concern and can have long-lasting detrimental effects on families and children. We need to find a way to address this problem now. Prime Minister, Minister Andrews, you must allow compassionate travel exemptions for a support person, like a grandparent, to travel to Australia in order to provide the vital support during the birth of a child. Childbirth is a life transitioning event. People cannot and should not go through this transition vulnerable and alone. No new parent or child should be at a heightened risk of this crippling mental health condition. To all the expecting and new parents, we need to stand with each other in support. Share our truth and experiences. It is our power. Our collective voices can make a difference so we can be heard loud and clear. Perinatal mental health matters.